That's cool.
And hello, movie lovers, and welcome to the show. For tonight's podcast episode, I actually have Switched the Envelope with me from their podcast. Hello, there, everyone, guys.
Hey, how's it going? Pleasure to be here.
How's it going, man?
It's going really good. It's good to actually have you on here. I do appreciate you taking the invitation that I had on Twitter last month to be able to do this show, and we decided on doing Cliffhanger tonight, the 1993's Sylvester Stallone film. But before we get into the review, tell everybody about your podcast and all that other jazz and everything.
Corey, you can take that. You're
Well, thanks for the invite. We love having chats about movies in any sort of capacity. That's just it's why we started our podcast in the first place, because we love movies and we love talking about movies. So any chance we can get to not talk to each other about movies, we'll take for sure. But our podcast, Switch the Envelope, started off really as a Switch the Oscar kind of a podcast where we went back through categories and years in Oscar history and would sort of tell the Academy how they got it wrong. And we're not movie experts; we just play some on a podcast. And then that sort of evolved into general.
I think we're movie experts.
Well, some may say we're movie experts.
Yeah,
we won't tell them we aren't.
Yeah.
But that sort of evolved more recently, especially coming out of the pandemic, where we now dive a little deeper into just general movie history, movie concepts, movie talk. We have our own sort of like mini episodes,
mini documentaries.
Yeah, they're like docupods. I like to call them, that are Switch the Envelope presents. We have Al's Useless Hollywood Facts. Al, for the uninitiated, is our fictitious super time computer that gives us all of our information, aka Google. So we gave him his own show where he gives us a bunch of random facts from some sort of through line in Hollywood history. And then there's also our Cinnovations show, which is a history and appreciation of cinematic innovations. So Cinnovations, there's a few other things that we throw in there too, but yeah.
Very nice, guys. Very nice. So let's see here. What we have here is Cliffhanger, of course, 1993. This movie also had a budget of $70 million. It made $255 million at the box office. Like I said before, this also stars Sylvester Stallone, Michael Rooker. You also have, of course, you have John Lithgow in this movie. You also have Janine Turner, Leon Paul Winfield.
Leon.
Yep.
I think just Leon is.
He's just Leon, man.
This is Leon. Okay, well, still.
The only other movie other than Cool Runnings that he was in.
He doesn't need a last name.
But, I think that this movie is actually a very classic 90s movie and stuff like that, especially when you look at Stallone. The very beginning of it has a lot of spoofs if you think about it, because in Ace Ventura When Nature Calls, there's actually a part where he's actually trying to save a raccoon and everything on the mountain, and then the raccoon, and he tells the raccoon, don't look down. The raccoon ends up looking down. Next thing you know, he winds up accidentally dropping the raccoon.
Hang on, little buddy. Yep.
Hang on, little buddy. It's okay. But yeah. But yeah.
I'll save you.
Yeah, I'll save you. But yeah, this is actually a really good action film whenever you think about it. It's totally different than Rambo. This is just Sylvester Stallone out in the snow, out in the mountains, and not only fighting John Lithgow, but also fighting the snow at the same time. So you have a little bit of a survival movie going on too at the same time as the action is going on. But like I said, what he winds up doing is at the very start of the film, he has to go ahead and try and save Michael Rooker and his girlfriend, because they wind up being trapped on this mountain, on the very top of the mountain, and they don't have any other way to getting down. So therefore they have to try and figure out a way to save them. So therefore what helicopter winds up doing is they wind up getting this grappling hook to where they can actually grapple across. And then of course Michael Rooker goes on ahead and makes it over there just fine. And then you see the girlfriend go by and trying to get her on the hook. And of course, she's actually scared and petrified out of her mind because she's never done rock climbing before or any type of mountain climbing. And she's petrified of heights. And of course, Sylvester Stallone tells her not to look down. She winds up looking down. And then as she's getting a little bit further into where the other helicopter is, that's when her line winds up breaking. And then, of course, when at that point and everything too, Sylvester Stallone goes over there, tries to save her. He has her by the hand, and then of course her glove winds up slipping from underneath him, and then she winds up falling to her death. And now you actually have this beef between Michael Rooker and Sylvester Stallone 8 months later. But what did you guys think of the introduction of this movie? What did you think of how this movie first starts off?
I thought this was the original Die Hard Part 2. It is. I think that Sylvester Stallone was originally slated to be in Die Hard because they didn't want to have Bruce Willis, and then he decided to make a movie just like Die Hard. You had 10 terrorists or so who were who decided to rob a bunch of money, and then all of a sudden you had a guy who was against all odds, went against the terrorists, and beat them, even though he didn't have a chance to. He didn't really. He was, he's battling the elements. In Bruce Willis's case, it was the building.
Right.
In Sylvester Stallone's case, it was the mountain. I mean, I think it was very similar plot points. And but I mean, just disclaimer: Cliffhanger is one of my favorite action movies of the '90s. I still love it.
What's interesting about the Die Hard comparison too is this studio was trying to make a Die Hard-esque film with Sylvester Stallone for a while before they ended up on Cliffhanger. And Rennie Harlan, the director of this particular film, I think also directed Die Hard 2, so he has that under his belt, right? And Carolco, the production company, was trying to make this film called Gale Force with Sylvester Stallone. And it was described in the early stages as Die Hard in a hurricane, if you can imagine that.
I would pay to see that, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The financing fell through, everything. Rennie Harlan was supposed to direct it, but it all kind of collapsed because the studio really couldn't figure out how to do the visual effects for any kind of, budget that was manageable. So the whole thing kind of collapsed, and everybody in the production crew kind of just shifted over to Cliffhanger, and then Cliffhanger got made because they were like, we can make mountains in a studio if we need to, and then they flew out to Italy and proceeded to overshoot their budget by $40 million and nearly bankrupt the studio. But
it's worth it. It's worth it.
That opening sequence is a pretty iconic sequence. Absolutely. Like the second you make it to spoof territory, that you've done something.
Exactly.
Right? As soon as somebody's spoofing it, that's the Kurt Cobain quote,
exactly,
right? About Weird Al. Once Weird Al's made a parody song about you, or from one of your songs, you've made it as an artist. Same thing with spoofs in movies, But I do have some issues with Michael Rooker and the cavalier nature in which Sylvester Stallone and the Rescue 3 crew are treating this life and death situation that one of their own has put themselves into.
Right.
Really, I didn't get that. I didn't get that from the opening scene.
They're joking, they're cracking jokes back and forth, and honestly,
right, that's
Michael
something that I didn't get either.
Has screwed up. He has messed up. He took somebody who doesn't know how to climb, trying to impress his girlfriend Sarah, taking her up to this really high, narrow point, and he has to be rescued by his own team. That's irresponsible.
Yeah, but I think that among very experienced climbers, that would be something they'd be like, "Oh, guess what? We have to come and save your ass." That would be something I think they would joke about.
Yeah. So
until they kill the girl.
If it was just him, so then her life is in danger, and I don't know why they didn't check their equipment before they put it on or before they went out there. But 125-year-old Sarah, or 125-pound Sarah, is putting a lot of stress on what was probably already a defective harness because...
No, but it was Sylvester Stallone's weight that on that line that broke the line, man.
No, the line didn't break. Her harness broke. Sylvester Stallone went out on the line. The line held.
I'm just quoting the movie where Michael Rooker says.
The logic is not sound in its own movie. Yeah, Sylvester Stallone going out on the line was the only thing. I mean, even Jessie, Sylvester Stallone's girlfriend, says it you did everything right. Later, when she's combing horses or whatever.
I like Jessie better in Northern Exposure.
Yeah, Jessie's a weird character for me because I don't quite know what the relationship is with her and Sylvester Stallone. Are they married? Are they dating? Are they just mountain friends with benefits? I'm not sure what's what's really going on there, like how
I think
close they are.
they're eggplant emoji kind of friends.
Eggplant.
They had
myself.
texting. Yeah.
Well,
they're totally
there's
the
not much
eggplant
going
emoji
on up in
friends.
the mountains or whatever, so you need at least one person that has that benefit. So you can't go wrong with Sylvester Stallone in the late '90s and everything.
You
when
never
he was
know.
in his
Jesse could have
prime.
been friends with friends, quote unquote, with the old dude.
Frank.
You know?
Oh, my favorite character,
You
Frank. Who, by the way, if you go back and rewatch that opening scene, it cuts to Michael Rooker and Frank sitting at the edge of the helicopter, and Frank is grimacing while he's watching Stallone like do his thing on the line with Sarah, and like trying not to drop her and whatnot. But the face that the actor is making makes him look like he's smiling maniacally, and it looks like Frank is sadistic and he's enjoying it a little too much. Like
Maybe he is.
He's hoping for death on that mountain that night. He's just got this like wide smile looking face. It's crazy.
It is. It definitely is, and I have to agree with you on your point though too. Like I thought here's the thing: whenever they're joking around and climbing around and joking around about this situation, I'm like, you're in a life and death situation, and not only that, but winds can pick up. Anything can wind up happening while you're on top of this mountain, and here they are busting balls with each other. It's like, hey, you're gonna go ahead and meet me after this. After we go once again, I have to go ahead and save
we're
your
going to dinner,
ass.
right? Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's like another Tuesday with Hal just screwing up the mountain.
It's like, yep, gotta go save Hal's ass right about now.
Yeah, it turns out Hal's a bad employee, a bad coworker. I think that's what the underlying thing there is. Hal is really pushing the limits there in his off hours.
It's all fun and games until you fall off a mountain. But
Yeah,
I want a prequel. I want to know how Hal met Sarah. I want to know how this relationship started. Where what girl was like, yeah, sure, I'll go up the biggest peak in the.
Oh yeah, I've never climbed before
I've never
in my life.
climbed,
Yeah, let's go climb.
but I'm going
a
to trust
really high
you.
mountain.
Couldn't have met on Tinder.
And they didn't have any like climbing equipment with them. They had like a flare, which luckily he had, but it didn't look like he had
much
damn near anything. There's no chalk. There's no like climbing rig stuff. So they just free soloed their way up the tower there. I doubt very seriously.
Well, she had to have had a harness because it broke.
No, she used the harness that Sylvester Stallone gave her, and he clipped her into that little pulley thing. Yeah, when he tells her, you ready to go on the best ride in the park, and he puts that little metal thing on the line. Yeah.
I'll tell you one thing. If I had to bring my girlfriend on there, I would probably have to go ahead and get her drunk before she even climbs a mountain, to be honest with you. She wouldn't be going up there, I can tell you that. But
yeah, the underlying thing is Michael Rooker's, he's got a huge game, is what you're saying, Jeff.
Yeah.
Or he's got, or he's just dating girls that are really, really after the extreme sports experience.
Yeah. She said,
that was really
how
extreme.
did he convince you? It's better than sex. I don't know.
But here's the thing, though. I mean, I actually forgot how intense that scene actually is, though. If you ignore the jokes and stuff like that, and how intense it can actually be. That was the initial part that I was actually sold on. Was okay. I know something's bad is gonna wind up happening, but when is that thing gonna happen? Basically, because the last time I saw this was in '93, I think, when I rented this from Block. So I knew it was coming. I forgot exactly what happens, but whenever I saw that happening and everything, I was like, "Oh, this is not going to end well." And then so Stallone has to go out there. He grabs her hand, and as she goes, "I'm slipping. I'm slipping." I'm like, "Dude, just reach for him. That's all you have to do." Is reach for
she's
him.
in straight panic mode, and honestly, that's the most realistic thing of the whole scene. Is lifeguards talk about when they go to save somebody who's drowning, and they have to like knock them out or like subdue them in order to save them because they're flailing.
They have to drown them first. They just strangle them and drown them, and then they can
swim their dead carcass into the shore. Yeah. Like that makes sense. Like she is not on a wavelength where she's thinking rationally because she thinks that she's going to die. And like, there's a couple lines in the early parts of this film that are just like characters flat out telling lies to the logic of the film or to the plot of the film. And one of those is Sylvester Stallone, who is barely holding on to this crappy glove that she's got on. And he's telling her, "You're not going to die." And I was like, yeah, okay. Clearly, at that moment, he knows, like, it's a lost cause. Like, this is going to happen.
I will say, if you're watching this film and you have some fear of heights, then looking at the camera angle, looking
Oh,
down, it's frightening as hell.
They do a bunch
Yeah.
of those in this movie, which is really
It's gonna make you
It's-
nauseated, to be
yeah.
honest.
Yeah, it's very scary to see what she would be looking down at, thinking that she's going to fall, thinking that she's going to fall down that ravine.
Oh, yeah,
It's
there's
just-
this, like,
that's not even a
bottomless-
ravine. What is it?
It's
It's
like
just
it's a valley, a pit,
It's just-
whatever.
that would be so intense to think about.
Yeah. Oh, it would. I mean, most
Definitely.
people, when they fall from great heights like that, end up sort of going into cardiac arrest and shock before they even like die from the impact of the plummet.
Okay, so now that movie is not as scary for me because I know she went into shock
Oh, she probably
and died
passed
before she
out
actually hit the ground.
before
Cool.
she actually hit the ground, and then that finished her off. Yeah.
Cool. Now I don't feel as
I
bad
mean, it
for
was
her.
a terribly violent death, but she probably wasn't conscious for most of it.
Okay, now I feel better.
Yeah.
Okay.
R-
So
R.I.P. Sarah.
now that she's dead, so after that winds up happening, like I said, there's some months that it winds up happening where basically you wind up seeing these FBI guys transporting the money and things like that. You're wondering
Treasury
where this is
Department.
actually going, and then of course you're wondering too, is one of them going to be corrupt, because something has to be corrupt here, But yeah, one of them has to be corrupt, and then also two, you also have some other things that are going on here. They're the only people on that airplane as well. There's no other passengers but them in this one little small airplane. So therefore, you're wondering who's going to backstab who, because there's all this money here, but where is this plot actually going to take us into the next scene,
Yeah. Now on that part and in that scene, I knew there was going to be some backstabbing, so I wasn't surprised at all.
Oh, there's double crosses akimbo in this movie.
Yeah, I was not surprised at all when the Secret Service agent turned around and shot I was like, I knew that was going to
They're
happen.
Treasury Department guys.
Sorry, Treasury Department.
They're transporting money. It's the Treasury Department, which I
Yes.
don't think is like a thing.
I thought Secret Service is in charge of the
They
of the money.
keep calling themselves Treasury agents.
Okay, well, that's an inaccuracy of the movie.
Which, again,
but
I don't think it's a thing. But like in this world, there's a government agency that deals with transportation of funds for international banking.
okay,
needs.
all
I
right.
think that's the story that they give.
Well, Agent Taggart. We'll just refer to him as Agent Taggart.
Travers.
I thought it was Taggart.
Mustachioed bald guy? Yeah.
Travers.
Travers,
Okay.
I think.
Agent
Yeah.
Travers is him. I knew he was going to be the backstabbing guy.
Oh,
I knew it just right off the bat. I was like,
He
that's
had an
him.
evil look.
No, he has
It's the
he had a
mustache.
dim-witted look. I don't know. He just has a yeah.
That and he was like fourth build. Like just under John Lithgow.
Right? But also too, I mean, whenever you look at this scene though, and whenever he gets ready to backstab, I'm like, this is also one of those things too. Something is going to go wrong or haywire with this plan that they have. You see this other plane and everything when he's looking at, whenever the treasury of the FBI and everything else is actually looking out the window, you actually see, what's going on and everything, where there's this other plane coming in.
Yeah, that whole sequence confuses the hell out of me. That's a real. We like to.
I
Call
thought it was fantastic.
I mean, visually, really awesome, really dynamic. The whole plane sequence, the $1 million stunt that they do, where he zip lines from one plane to the other, super cool. But like the logic of that scene just didn't work for me. It's on our show. We like to talk about sort of logical fallacies in movies with a sort of flippant because, well, movies. It's just something that never gets explained, is logically not something that would happen in a real life situation. Like there's a bunch of it happening on that plane. It's a giant MacGuffin to get the cases of money, or this giant MacGuffin, and they just had to figure out a way to get them over the mountains and dropped, right? And it's kind of.
Do you think that in real life what would have happened is they would have tried to link the money up, and one of the planes would have had some kind of mishap, and all the money would have just fell from the air?
All right, here's my scenario.
Because that's what I think would have happened.
Here's
And
my scenario.
oh shit, that's exactly what happened.
Here's my scenario, Jeff. Criminal mastermind. We find out later that John Lithgow is some sort of secret service or secret agent, intelligence background, and now he's figured out that it's more lucrative to go on the other side of the law, right? He's supposed to be this criminally, genius planner, right? why would you have the plane pull up next to the other plane, alerting it that you're there, knowing that not everybody on that plane would be in on the gig? It seems like
because it's Die Hard. And what did you learn? What's the number one rule of Die Hard that you learned from all those terrorists?
terrorists are bad at planning.
No.
Oh.
You learn that it's better to make everybody believe that the money has been destroyed and get away with it clean than to try and rob the money and make people be looking for you. So what their original plan was to think that the money went down in a plane and blew up.
Sure.
And they got away with it scot-free. That was the original plan.
Because, like, honestly, they could have landed at a private airfield, changed the money. He still would have had to shoot all the people that he shot. The pilot would have had to kill his co-pilot. Like, there's no way, there's no scenario in which that isn't happening, by the way. Everybody on that plane is dying no matter what. Like, there's no way anybody else on that plane survives.
Exactly.
To get that transfer to happen. Because he blows the damn back of the plane off. Like, he's just, secretly do that. Well, everybody is like taking a nap, reading their in-flight magazines. Nah. But like, they could have landed at an airfield, transferred the money, blown up the plane, and then.
But they were tracking the money
wherever they were going in the first.
They were tracking the money, so they had to know that the plane went down in the mountains.
Card. He has a key card.
What are you talking about? A key
that
card?
Unlocks and locks the case.
He does have a key card that actually
Travers
unlocks
has got
the
that
case.
key card. He locks them at the Treasury Department.
No, I'm saying that the Treasury Department themselves, back at like, I don't know, wherever the Treasury Department's home base is.
Take them out of the case.
Like where Ed Harris is also watching Apollo 13. Wherever that is, they're watching the planes. For some reason, they're like tracking these planes. Sure. And when they needed to see them go down, so they thought that they would be looking for the money. So the original plan was they'd be looking for that money through that snowstorm in those mountains, while John Lithgow and all those people are flying off to the Bahamas or
Panama,
Tonga, or wherever they go.
Yeah, no, I understand. I'm saying there's an easier, less life, threatening way.
Well, you're not John Lithgow in this movie.
No, not John Lithgow. I'm saying Agent Travers and the pilot presumably were going to zip line free from anything at 10,000 feet from one plane to another.
Well, the whole idea is that you'd have to have somebody. Why would you do this plan? The only part of this plan doesn't make any sense is why would you send over the money and then trust this crazy guy to not cut the line on you while you're on the line?
That's why Travers goes first, man.
Exactly. But then how are you going to get the money back over?
The pilot was supposed to.
But then why would you did the pilot think that they're not going to cut the line while he's coming over?
I mean, look, he's not getting paid enough to go over first. Or maybe he's following the money. But... follow the money quickly.
Either way, it's a super cool stunt.
Well, it doesn't matter because the FBI guy wakes up after getting his Rolex stepped on, which, by the way, is probably the most painful looking thing in the movie. Everything else is like big stunts and like.
No, the painfulest thing that happens is the death of Leon.
That's like obviously fake, right? I'm saying that guy's hand really got stepped on by the pilot walking over him.
No.
And his finger starts twitching. You're like, oh, that was probably like really painful. Have you ever had your hand crushed in a door or like stepped on accidentally or something? It's super painful.
I haven't. I'm like Bruce Willis in Unbreakable.
But yeah, I was like this. I'm like, dude, you have to have some strong organs in your body not to scream or anything like that when that dude was actually just puts his walks on his hand and he has to pretend he's dead and everything, and then he goes on ahead and tries shooting him and everything, and it winds up failing. But at the same time, I'm also thinking this. I'm like, how strong are those zip lines and everything, and how heavy are those briefcases to where they can actually zip line through? Because they actually have to be pretty heavy duty and everything. So can that zip line hold that much weight? Because you're talking about like 3 briefcases. It would make more sense if it wasn't like all at one time and zip lining it one at a time. And then on the last zip line, you can go ahead and be like, okay, we're going to set up this bomb. And then on that last briefcase, let that explode with the other FBI agent and everything. So therefore, they basically would only have 2 briefcases to actually find rather than 3 briefcases. It would make a little bit more sense.
It's also kind of a dick move on Travers's part to set the bomb and and then like arm it, and then be like, all right, pilot, you're on your own. Plus, get those things over there before the whole thing blows up. Like, just let the pilot hit that switch on his way out, and then he doesn't have like only 3 minutes instead of 5 minutes, or better yet, remote charge that. Like,
Also,
come on.
doesn't Travers have a oxygen mask he brings on the plane? Didn't
Yeah.
anybody wonder about that?
Well, FBI guy who's just hitching a ride brought on an Uzi too. So nobody thought like, oh, this guy going to San Francisco.
I'm more concerned about the oxygen mask, because you don't think that'd be something that'd be a little weird to bring on a plane? They'd be like, hey, why did you bring on an oxygen mask?
Why do they have oxygen masks in the first place? I'm wondering.
Well, because they had to open up the door at like 20,000 feet,
Yeah,
so they
but
wouldn't be able to breathe at that level.
No. Once it's depressurized, you're fine. Like when people jump out of airplanes to go skydiving, they're not wearing oxygen masks.
But they're
until
not at
they jump out of the
20,000
plane.
feet either.
I guess it would depend on altitude.
Yeah, they're at a high altitude because the plane was flying at a really high altitude because it's flying at the level of a normal plane. But that's what I'm saying. Why would Travers be coming on the plane with a friggin' oxygen mask?
You know what? Maybe he took the co-pilot's oxygen mask, or maybe they're standard issue because it's a
No, because remember they started communicating with each other?
Yeah, it's got a radio in it or something.
That's what I'm saying.
The radio communication.
Why
is
all of a sudden is
bonkers.
Travers just
Yeah.
pull out an oxygen mask from somewhere and,
Right.
and nobody thought to ask him, why are you bringing an oxygen mask onto the plane?
That whole scene is really, really because movies. Yeah.
Right, just because it's an
Chock-full.
action scene, you know,
Yeah.
no one thinks about asking him anything or anything like that. But not only that, but you don't even see none of those oxygen things that hang down in case of an emergency or anything either.
When they
It's
blow off the
basically
back
just a
of the plane.
military grade.
Right.
Think about military grade kind of airplane. So you don't really see anything to actually indicate, hey, there's going to be other oxygen mask on there other than the one that Trevor has. So you're like, what's up, dude? What's up with that oxygen mask? Because that's what I would like to know.
Well,
It's like
the
you got on
pilot,
to me.
pilot has one. Earlier in the shots, when you look at the cockpit, the pilot does have a similar mask hanging next to him, or like sort of behind and to the left of him in the cockpit. So it's possible, like I said, that maybe Travers took, maybe those are the standard issue oxygen masks that are on the plane, and they have like a little, science fiction-y earbud radio in their ears because they're in on the gig already, and it's not a part of the mask. I don't know, but it like is very, very razor thin logic there. But big ups to Cliffhanger for hitting 1-2 right out the gate. Like, you're only 10 minutes into this movie, and you've gotten two incredibly tense, wonderfully choreographed action sequences that are not fights, right? It's not. They're not fight sequences.
And one of them,
but they're
Sylvester Stallone,
edge
isn't
of
even
your
in.
seat. Yeah, exactly.
Right, we have the whole entire, like I said before, we had one scene where Michael Rooker's girlfriend dies. Then we also have another action scene that happens where basically just the airplane exploding, and then we have the tone for the movie on which we're getting ready to set bar for and everything. So we actually know the tone of the movie, what we're looking at. So that's something I appreciated, is the fact that it's not a misidentification of what this movie's about. So therefore, it has its identity now. It has its tone for what we're getting, and it's Die Hard in a mountain, pretty much.
And you get the danger stakes of what being in those mountains is, right? You know, right from that first scene, like, oh, no, people will fall to their deaths many times in this film.
But, then, like I said, it's 8 months later, Gabe returns to the ranger station to gather his remaining possessions and persuade Jesse to leave with him. While there, that's when they receive the distress call from the group of stranded climbers. He goes and locates the climbers, and Jesse is able to persuade Gabe to help out with it. But also, too, at the very beginning, you also see these other guys that you're thinking that they're snowboarders and everything, but the way they actually look, they look like snowboarders in extreme sports, but it's actually another way about them actually skydiving.
Yeah,
and everything too.
They're base jumpers or
Base
whatever.
jumpers, that's what it's called. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Brett and something else. And by the way, that conversation that they have with Gabe on the highway, the winding mountain highway, where they're just casually talking out their windows, having a full conversation, is laugh out loud the most absurd moment in the movie.
It kind of reminds you of like non-playable character in a video game where basically
It's a
they're having
cutscene.
conversations, and then it even cuts away like a cutscene from a video game, right? Because
Yeah.
after Sylvester Stallone slows down a little bit, then all of a sudden you see the Jeep take a right-hand turn quickly into the forest.
Yeah,
So it
Yeah.
kind of
that whole
reminds me of
scene
a
was
video
hilarious.
non-playable character / cutscene in a movie.
And it doesn't become relevant until later in the movie. So later in the movie, you see them again, but until that part of the movie, you don't really see those boys again.
It would have been totally fine for them to recognize him at the gas station and been like, "Oh, Gabe's back. That was Gabe. Gabe's back. Oh, that's awesome." And then just cut away. We don't need.
whoa, it's Gabe.
Yeah,
back.
whatever.
Whoa, it's Gabe, man.
Whoa, it's Gabe.
There's-
God, it's Gabe.
Totally Keanu Reeves out.
Dude.
Yeah. We didn't need for them to have a totally bonkers conversation on a windy mountain road at like regular volume while nobody's paying attention to that road.
No,
Nobody's paying attention to that road. And Sylvester Stallone had to move over into oncoming traffic lane in order to
Just-
accommodate having a chat with them. It didn't need to happen. It's the most ridiculous thing in the movie. In a movie full of ridiculous things, that's the most ridiculous.
But then you, like I said before, then you get the distress call and everything. And I thought the distress call actually helps out, but then we are actually introduced to John Lithgow's character. You're also introduced to the pilot. You're also introduced to all these other characters now who's actually going to be backstabbing each other later on because they can't trust each other over this money. It just goes to show you how far greed can actually go when you have this much amount of money that they are trying to get their hands on. And of course, they wind up losing the money, so they don't know where the money actually is up until Trevor winds up telling him, well, look, it's on these mountains right here. Well, we don't have no rock climbing experience here. So we're going to go on ahead and have to get somebody that's actually experienced. How do we do that? We're going to fake that we have someone that's actually needs insulin. And I like how John Lithgow just looks at him and goes, did you think about, how about that? Did you think of insulin on your little plan?
How's my girl's ad lib? Pretty good, right? Yeah, and she also mentions that they're a party of 5. Now I know it's a fake call anyway, so the number of people doesn't matter. But I counted 7 people in that plane, and like there's 3 goons that are like nameless, faceless goons, and you know that they're in the back of that plane looking to like, all right, which 2 of us are completely expendable at this moment?
It's like, which one of us is not getting paid at the end of this movie? Which one of us is going to get killed? But
It doesn't
I
bode well for employment of any of those goons.
Exactly. But then also too, you also have another thing that winds up having the conversation between Gabe and also too Michael Rooker's character. And I like the fact that they actually play off the guilt and shame off of Gabe. And everything, because he's still hurting over the stuff that happened in the very beginning of the film, and it's 8 months later and it's still following him. That PTSD is still holding on to him. So I like the fact that it's playing into that on something on a serious level, because it's rare that we actually have that in an action movie in the 90s where it plays off of PTSD, it plays off of guilt and shame. They don't ignore what happened. So that's something I appreciated with Cliffhanger.
Yeah, absolutely. That guilt carries through the remaining motivations for pretty much everything Sylvester Stallone does in the film. Michael Rooker kind of turns it on and turns it off a little bit. But yeah, I think Sylvester Stallone, his character, Gabe Walker, is he Gabe Walker or is he Gabe Tucker? I'm not sure which one is Walker, which one's Tucker.
I think there's one of them is Walker, Texas Ranger, and the other one is Tucker, Texas Walker.
But yeah, and Sylvester Stallone's character does carry a heavy burden with him through the entire film, and I do appreciate that. It makes for better filmmaking for sure, especially in a film where they don't need to.
I do like this film, but there's one thing that really annoys me through the beginning of this film. It doesn't really. It's mostly through when they first meet Sylvester Stallone. When they're first trying to get him and Michael Rooker to do like,
I think we have similar notes here.
There's something when they're first trying to get him to keep moving and he keeps stopping and he won't do what they're telling him. The terrorists keep loading their gun. They keep like like clicking their gun to tell him to keep moving.
Yeah.
And it's the same two terrorists. You can't load your gun that many times. They'd be out of bullets. They load their gun at him like every single time. They say, keep moving. And then they click and load. And then they say, keep moving. And they load again. And they keep moving. And they load again.
There's overdone sound effects.
Yeah.
Or they're actually doing the motion.
No, they actually do the movement. And they load the gun and they tell them to keep moving. And they load again and they tell them to keep moving. And I'm like, they didn't fire. And they didn't, you know, they didn't take. They didn't show them taking the gun off of load. You know, like they didn't.
Yeah. They're just like discharging bullets and then reloading the next one in the chamber and then dislodging another new bullet.
I mean, they're just like making sound effects behind him, but it's like
right
because it sounds like a better action sequence when there's.
But they do it so many times.
Noises.
It sounds like bad editing. It sounds like there should have been something in between there where they shoot off, like at least fire off a bullet or something. That way there'd been something like at least a reason to reload the gun. But they just keep hitting it, and it just really is annoying.
I could just see someone in the sound effects in the editing room. You know what what it really needs? It needs more reloading.
More guns.
We got you.
Yeah. Don't worry, Rennie.
Don't mess with us. We're gonna reload the gun again. I keep thinking that he should have turned around at one point and gone, "Dude, you just reloaded that gun at me.
That
okay,
gun is now jammed.
you are gonna jam that gun. All right."
I can see him looking at. Look, I'm gonna do what you want me to do, but for crying out loud, stop with reloading the stupid gun.
You can't fit any more bullets in that Uzi. All right, the bullets don't go more. There's no more that'll fit in that chamber.
Trust me, if anyone should know, it's me. I played Rambo. I know how many rounds goes in that clip. But, you know, it's just the ridiculousness of it, though. But, yeah, I do have to admit that the over-clicking of the gun was actually annoying and everything. But also, too, you have him on trying to make him do what he needs to do. But he's also trying to stall for time. He's like, okay, any time now, Hal's going to try and help me out here. But Hal doesn't even help him or anything either. He's like, okay, come on, we have to keep on moving, Gabe. Come on, we have to keep on moving. So
later on, Hal starts to help him out, but in the beginning, he doesn't.
Yeah.
No, he just goes on ahead, follows Gabe on this mountain like a duck, and is like, okay, we're just gonna go on ahead and do this duck walk with these villains, and hopefully we wind up throwing them off the cliff later on. But I like how they actually play off of the technologies. Like, hey, look, we have to get to this point right here. So we have to climb. He goes, well, where is it at? It's up above us. And he goes, I don't trust him. So what do? They go in and tie this rope up and everything, hoping these bungee cords will actually lift them all the way up there to find what they need. And then finally he's like, he's taking too long. There's no way he found it.
Shoot him. Yeah, like they're super reliant on Gabe and Hal's expertise to climb these mountains to fetch these things. Yet when they find that first case, or they find the general location of that first case, they make it as difficult as possible for Sylvester Stallone to go up the side of this mountain. They take away all of his protective gear. They don't let him take an axe. They don't let him take his little piston shooting spike gun.
Well, to be fair, he does go up there and open the money. I mean, just to be fair.
I mean, they shouldn't have trusted him. That's true. But
he did go up there, and the first thing he did was open the case and look at the money.
My big thing is, like, why are they being so aggressive towards these rescue guys? They could have just been like, hey, look, awesome opportunity. There's like $100 million up here in these mountains. We will cut you guys in. Things went a little south, as you can see, down to aircraft. But you can get a percentage, and we could all walk away from this super clean. And I guarantee Hal would have gone for it. Guaranteed.
Right, Hal would have gone for it.
Guaranteed Hal would have been like, all right, let's do this.
You know,
show me the money,
I was
baby.
thinking, if anybody was going to go corrupt, I was thinking Hal was going to go on ahead and join them, because he actually has motivation to join them, because
I think it would be
killed
Frank.
his girlfriend.
Frank would have gone. Frank would have gone so corrupt.
Frank and his terrible paintings. I love Frank so much.
He would have been like, I've got a way we can launder this. You buy all my paintings.
Yeah, right.
Buy my paintings for $1 million, and we can make a deal.
90s Banksy. And,
exactly.
We'll launder your money.
Be like Mickey Blue Eyes. That's a reference that it's hard to get.
Exactly. I remember that movie though too, with Hugh Grant. But You know, and then what I think those cases are really clumsy though, because all he had to do was get a rock and start hitting it and beating on it, and all of a sudden the case just opens.
Yeah, so much for that key, that magnetic key lock.
But he hit it with a Sylvester Stallone size arm.
That's
all right,
true.
that's
Right.
like the size of the case. He's just like, you know, I mean, come on.
If that was Vin Diesel, he goes, "All I need is family.
Yeah. He would
I don't
bring
need a
up-
key card. I just need family."
Yeah, he would bring up his family, and the case would pop open.
Right.
Or they'd put it in between the Rock's arm.
He
and
wouldn't
could
need a
flex
rock.
it-
He'd have
flex
the
it
rock.
open. Just
Exactly.
And then the case would open.
But I have to laugh at how Trevor's like, "You need me because I got the key," and then all of a
He's
sudden
got the key,
Sylvester,
and he's got the tracking device codes,
right?
which is why would they have tracking codes to see, well, whatever.
Right.
Because
Exactly.
$100 million.
I know, but I'm just saying the person that would be holding that is like a treasury agent, right?
That was him.
Every 15 minutes, he's got to plug in a new code so that he can see that they're still on the plane. Like, in an emergency, that's the tool they use to track down where those cases have gone. In the case of them being stolen somewhere, right? The agent who has that device, why would they need to plug in a code every 15 minutes to be back on the trail?
I don't think it was every 15 minutes. I think it's that he was the only one that had the code, and you had to punch it in.
But then there's 50,000 permutations of the code, and it changes every 15 minutes.
Did you say it changed every
Something
15
like
minutes?
that. There's like weird rules.
I thought it was
for
just
the
that he had
codes.
to punch in the code and you had to punch it in a certain amount of time.
Also, he's stranded up on that mountain. How is he getting what the new codes are every so often, whenever that time frame is?
I didn't think it was that you had to punch in different codes. I thought you had to punch it in within a certain amount of seconds.
Oh, maybe that's what it is. I don't know. It's a bunch of like.
No, it was just that you had to punch in the code within a certain amount of seconds, and you couldn't mess it up. It's kind of like an iPhone. You know what I mean?
He goes to sleep.
It's like if you punch in the iPhone, you know how you can't get into it for like 10 years.
Yeah.
It like blocks itself up. That was like the iPhone before the iPhone.
It's got that. It's got that Escape from New York. Lay of the typography or topography. That like wireframe. The Escape from New York when they do the digital city.
No,
Yeah.
I actually have no idea what you're talking about.
Everything's all white lined and polynomials and polygons.
Right. It looks like a
or whatever.
Nintendo video game.
That's what those mountains look like in his little screen, with the like
Oh.
beeping triangles where the cases are.
Oh, he means
All the
he's like
mountains are
it
just
looks
like
like
white
Pong and
lines.
stuff. Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, it looks like Pong.
It's more the
That's
advanced
high-tech.
copy of Pong, though. It
Yeah.
has mountains.
Yeah.
Trying to,
You hit the ball. You hit the Pong over the mountains.
right.
I'm not sure if it's just like my modern sensibility for technology because I'm much younger than they are in the film at the time, but like they held up a dirty ass map with a circle on it on top of the screen and then pulled the screen away, and then you see like bad computer graphic mountains, and John Lithgow's like, "Do you recognize this place?" And like Michael Rooker and Sylvester Stallone are looking back and forth at each other, and I imagine that in their minds they're like, "The hell am I even looking at?"
As actors, they're real good actors.
What are we even looking at?
They're like real good actors. They're like, yeah,
Yeah.
we know what that is.
Yeah, we
Yeah, we know. We
I
got
don't know
this.
what that is. Yeah.
That's
Come on,
Combe
Hal.
Bluff. We got Combe Bluff. We know what that is.
Oh yeah. Just off to the side, those are the towers. Yeah.
And then after that happens, they wind up losing the money. At that point, though, too, that's what, of course,
Whoa,
when they
hold
cut
on.
the cord.
Sylvester
And
Stallone survives an avalanche.
Right.
They all do, actually. Except for the two guys that were nameless that you talked about.
Oh, one
Coming
of
in
the
this
guys
movie.
that was nameless. Yeah, Mr. Grenade Launcher just flies right off that cliff.
That's the guy with the
Blonde hair.
the cut right here.
Yeah, the guy that looks like the Joker's villain henchman
He's also in
from Batman.
he's also in The Mask.
Oh, is he?
I believe I'm just going off of facial recognition, but I believe that the guy that was in that shooting the grenade launcher is in Jim Carrey's The Mask. He's one of the henchmen in The Mask.
He's been typecast.
Yeah,
Oh, that's-
but I'm literally because I don't have my phone with me, so I'm literally going off my.
yeah,
so.
we can't reference Al live on the air.
We're in a different show. Al's on our other show.
Al's sleeping.
Al.
He has a 50,000 permutation code that we got to plug into him over in the
Travers is using Al right now. to find money.
But then, of course, then they go over to the next location, trying to get Hal to do it now.
Yep.
Because they think that Gabe is dead and everything. So then we wind up seeing them walk over to this other location and stuff like that. And, once again, this is where, of course, things go haywire. Because night falls
fight.
on the mountain, on both groups.
But
and everything,
Gabe,
too.
This is where Gabe actually meets back up with Jesse, right? At the
Right.
the Douglas
At the mountain
thing, the little
the
hideaway
mountain
hut.
hotel for monks.
The hideaway hut.
Yeah.
Where she breaks a bunch of glass. And
It's like a museum.
Like probably a 200-year-old sweater.
Right, from
spends the rest
Friday
of
the
the
13th.
Yeah.
Because all I could think of is Jason Voorhees' mother wearing that sweater. So
Exactly.
It's
I'm like,
what
wait.
It was a traveling museum piece. It was Friday the 13th.
I thought to myself, who would
movie props.
travel all the way up that mountain to that museum just to see a sweater with
a
some
pair of
old
binoculars.
artifacts?
Absolutely.
It's like, we finally did it. We finally did it, guys. We did it. We got the museum.
Is it Sir
We-
Hilary's?
We saw the sweater and
Sweater,
the claw.
Yeah.
'Cause I think the only thing else in there was a claw and a rope.
Old ass binoculars. Yeah, they got like a 160-year-old rope or something like that.
Yeah, that broke on them, and they got a rope, a claw, and a sweater.
Yeah. They got binoculars.
What the
They
hell
get
kind of a
binoculars.
museum is that?
Exactly.
Yeah. A bad museum in the middle of the mountains.
That you had to climb up to.
Yeah. A 30-minute hike to get to. That's not a fun time with the kids.
No, definitely not.
Hey, kids,
If you're
you
on
wanna-
a school
you wanna
trip,
hike?
no.
You want to hike 4 hours to see a claw, a rope, and a sweater?
It's like, how was your trip, kids? It was great. What did you get? Well, Bob got a sweater. I got a hook. And what did you get? I got frostbite.
Yeah.
I was just going to say the same thing, but I couldn't stop laughing. I lost a toe.
Yeah, right.
By the way, Mom, we have to go to the ER so we can get this back on.
Kept it on ice.
Can we put this black thing back on my foot?
Worst trip ever. 1 star. But yeah, I think that this film is actually pretty fun whenever you think about it, though. I mean, yeah, it has ridiculousness and stuff like that, but John Lithgow's character is like overacting in a sense. You can definitely tell that John Lithgow is trying to do everything he can to be serious in this movie and to actually be dangerous and scary. But it just, I don't know, it just doesn't work. But although, fun fact, Christopher Walken was actually supposed to be the guy who actually was the person who was supposed to play that character.
Oh, that would have been so great.
I agree. I could see him playing that character, though. And even I was thinking that before I found that out. I'm like, you know what this needs? More cowbell. This needs this needs Christopher Walken. But at the last minute, they got John Lithgow.
Was
a pretty good get. Lithgow's entertaining.
Yeah,
as over the top as he is, he's very entertaining.
I like him in
don't think-
Dexter.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah.
He's a good bad guy. He's a good
Yeah.
he can kind of fly under the radar and then be completely evil. Like he's got good range.
He's not as good as Hans Gruber.
No, but Alan
But,
Rickman.
Yeah, Alan Rickman definitely plays a better bad guy, but they're similar, and I think that's why he was cast in that role. That's
Yeah.
why they wanted that.
Lithgow's missing the dynamic beard, I think, to really pull through a Hans Gruber.
Hans Gruber is just epic.
Yes.
You know, like I think Hans Gruber just pulls off that character is just a lot more epic than what John Lithgow is doing. But I think John Lithgow was actually trying to do a Hans Gruber with his character and it just wasn't working.
No,
But
definitely wasn't.
Christopher Walken would have been awesome.
Christopher Walken would have been great. That line where he's like, kill a few people, they call you a murderer, like with all of his pregnant pauses, would have been amazing.
I can actually hear that in his.
Me too.
Kill a few people. I can't do walking, but you know,
That's why we didn't have Jay Moore or something here that can do
kill
that.
a million. You're a conqueror.
You do a better Christopher Walken impression than I do. I would actually butcher it. So,
just like him being like, you know, on the mountain, you know, go figure.
I think you're making it more comedic.
I can't do it. I'm
but
sorry.
You don't understand. Like
the internet forever.
Christopher Walken already played like a crime boss in True Romance, so it would be like a lot like True Romance.
I was just trying to do the line from this movie.
No, I know, but I'm saying it would have been a lot like True Romance.
Yeah,
that's what kind of part he would have played.
Or like the Deer Hunter.
No, it wouldn't have been like Deer Hunter.
He would have gone crazy in the mountain and like challenged him to.
No, I think he would have played it a lot like how he was in True Romance, where he was like kind of sly and a little scary and like.
Yeah, he probably would have been. He was a Bond villain too, wasn't he?
A long time ago, right?
Yeah, he would have been fine. He would have been great.
And he was on the boat with Natalie Wood, right?
Yeah, but he plays the good guy in that film.
Okay, does he? All right, just checking. All right. Robert Wagner was the bad guy. Robert Wagner is the bad guy with Natalie Wood. Just checking. Just checking.
On the yacht thing.
On the yacht. Okay. We're clear.
Yeah.
Christopher Walken was the good guy on the boat with Natalie Wood.
According to official investigations, Christopher Walken is
clear of that investigation. Okay.
But you know, then of course we wind up seeing, of course, Hugh going on ahead, trying to find out where the second briefcase is, and then of course they wind up finding it and everything. But before that actually happens, we wind up seeing once again Sylvester Stallone beats them to it. It's like he has that whole entire map memorized where it's at, where everything's actually laid out.
Yeah, it turns out he isn't as rusty in those mountains as he thought earlier in the film, where he's like, I've lost the touch for the mountains. Turns out you haven't, Gabe.
When you kill someone in the mountains, you seem to remember them.
It's imprinted on you.
Yep.
Like a vampire baby. Sorry.
One of the best.
This is terrible.
One of the best scenes in that movie is when he gives the tracker to the rabbit.
Oh,
when he outflanks them.
Yeah. Great.
That's a really good scene.
And Travers is just so out of his mind that he tries to mow down a bunny rabbit with a fully automatic machine gun and misses.
That's been overclicked through the whole movie.
Yeah, right. He just jammed all the bullets and then tried to shoot, and they're just going off in random different directions, 2 at a time. Nobody can seem to shoot anybody in this movie.
No, even Hugh had a hard time shooting somebody.
Yeah, well, how Michael Rooker's character at the very end tries to shoot the side of a helicopter and fails.
Because I'm expecting it to blow up, and then seeing him miss it, I'm like, that thing is not blowing up.
It sort of like clips the tail a little bit, but it doesn't. It does nothing. Like, what were you gonna do? He's like, move aside, Jesse, and he, with his shotgun and just sort of grazes. He just wings the. The side
Sylvester
of the
Stallone did more damage to that helicopter than he did.
Well, yeah, and Sylvester Stallone is actively like underneath the helicopter at that moment, diving to that ladder off the edge of the cliff there, and it's like, what are you doing, Hal? Like, you're gonna kill your best friend. Well, maybe he was shooting at Sylvester Stallone. Like, this was his moment for like revenge without anybody suspecting that he was getting his revenge.
Maybe Hal set up the whole thing. Maybe Hal actually paid the entire group of terrorists to come to the mountain with the whole idea to kill Sylvester Stallone.
It's like The Game with Michael Douglas.
Maybe.
Hey, look, guys, I have an idea. Since you already have money, you don't have to worry about that. I just want you to kill Stallone. He killed my girlfriend 8 months ago. I don't care about the money. I don't need money. I just want him dead off this mountain.
But make it fun.
That's why he stays down there and they send Sylvester Stallone up there with no gear. It doesn't make sense. But he's like, hey, I'll stay down here. You send him up there and we'll create an avalanche. We'll just mindfully shoot grenades at a mountainside.
While also endangering myself.
But I go back to why wouldn't they just let them in on the heist? They would have gotten a lot farther if they were just like,
maybe Hal was in on the heist.
I don't think so, because he had a lot of really cool one-liners.
I don't know if they'd be really cool. They
No,
were okay.
Hal's one-liners were the best in this movie. They gave Michael Rooker got all the best one-liners in this movie.
He actually did, yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it looks like gravity's a bitch, and you know, what are some of the? I think I wrote some of them down. In a moment I'll be dead, but you'll always be an asshole. Like that's a great line that he delivers. And then when that one henchman is going through his soccer monologue, kicking Michael Rooker, you know, to
I was a great striker. I was a great striker.
Oh, that's a penalty kick. Now you're cursing, you know, all that kind of stuff. And he flips over the mountain, grabs the shotgun, and goes, "Season's over, bitch," and or asshole, and puts him in the chest. Like Michael Rooker got all the great lines.
To be honest
even
with
his
you,
final line.
I think
Final line is great too.
I think Sylvester Stallone had a good line when he killed Leon.
What did he say?
I can't remember when he puts him up on the spike.
Anything. Does he say
I
anything?
think he says something when he puts him up on the
I
spike.
wanted him to say more one-liners. He doesn't. The one-liner that stands out is when he's punching John Lithgow on top of the helicopter. He goes, "Remember, keep your hands and arms inside the vehicle at all times," and then hits him over the edge, and he swings into the helicopter.
I'm pretty
before it
sure.
falls.
I'm pretty sure he says something when he puts the guy up on the spike. I don't remember what. I can't think of it right now, but I'm pretty sure he says something.
That was a full-on like savage hero moment too. Is he like nut grab to like full shoulder press into a stalactite? Like that's an epic moment.
I remember it being
Total way to
something
die.
really stupid. It was like, you know, it was
hang tight.
yeah, it was something like it was something like that. It was totally something like
Yeah.
that.
I feel like he didn't say anything. They just cut to Jesse coming over and being like,
Did you watch the
"Whoa, what did you do?"
Did you watch the Channel 5 version?
No,
Oh.
I watched
CW version?
I rented this film.
oh,
Yeah,
This is
and
actually on
watched it
Netflix now.
repeat.
It's on
now?
Netflix. Ah.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
It was
That's
only
how
on
I-
Pluto TV.
that was like last week. I actually got a notification like a week before we were about to do this. I'm like, okay, I don't have to rent this movie for like $3.
Oh,
I can go in
I'm
here and
gonna
rent
be
this
so
on. I
mad.
can go in here and watch this on Netflix.
I'm looking this up right now because I'm so mad. I remember seeing it on like
Right.
Amazon or something like that when you search for it on the Apple products, and it shows you like what apps it's available on.
Right.
And I saw that it was available on something. Like it didn't show up as rent only. And I was like, cool,
Right.
it's on one of these streaming apps.
You can watch it on
son of a
YouTube
bitch.
and stuff like
It
that.
totally
And I'm
is.
like,
Dang it!
You know what I'm doing, Corey? I'm watching it for the 653rd time.
I'm so angry right now. I didn't have to pay money to see this. It would have been a part of my.
Dude, it's like $3, man.
And it was $4, and honestly, worth every penny.
Sorry, $3.99.
But I'm already paying for it as part of a subscription, and now I'm angry. Yeah, no.
I hate when that happens though too. I had that
Day
happen
ruined.
before.
Thanks, John.
You're welcome. I'm a day late and dollar short as usual, but you're welcome. But you know, I had a blast watching this film and just having fun with it, shoving popcorn in my face,
Oh yeah.
tuning out everything that around me, and just enjoying it for what it is. It's just Stallone doing what Stallone does in the 90s.
90s action movies are that. They are popcorn movies, and I think that in the 90s is when they had perfected the action movie. 80s were still super cheesy. Once you get into the 90s, they perfected action movies. Like
Right.
Cliffhanger, True Lies. You get into those movies where they're just like good action movies.
Yeah,
Definitely.
it's prime action movie time in the '90s for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Tombstone.
Tombstone's one of my favorites.
I don't know if that counts the same as a Cliffhanger, but it's an awesome movie.
It is an action movie
Western,
to
it's a
come on.
Western. It's not like Cliffhanger.
Yes, it
I
is.
don't think it's like Cliffhanger at all.
It's an action movie. Shut up.
There's action in it, but I wouldn't.
No one
I would
hanging
hold
on
it in a
cliffs though.
different genre than.
Corey, you were the one that said you didn't think of yourself as a movie expert. I
That's right.
I always
acquiesced to the expert
said
in the
I
room.
am an expert here. What did you think about John? What did you think about the ending, man?
I actually
The
like the
abrupt
ending. To me, I think it wrapped up nicely, to be honest with you. Of course, it ends on like a cheesy note where basically Stallone goes on ahead, throws the money and everything at the helicopter. The helicopter winds up going wobbly, and then all of a sudden, now he's on the edge of trying to kill John Lithgow's character while he's on top of the helicopter. And all you see is just like the not the end piece of the helicopter, but you only see where the cockpit actually is and all that.
It's sort of the bottom of it. It's
Yeah,
inverted,
the bottom of it.
hanging off of that ladder that rolls off the cliff.
But yeah, the ending of it was perfect to me. I mean, there's no other way that I would actually end this movie the way that it actually ended, to be honest with you.
Oh,
What about you guys?
I need some sort of an epilogue or something. It's really more like modern movie viewing eyes, I think, because the action peaks, it resolves, and then you get a little bit of there's like the Treasury Department comes in their helicopter,
Right.
and we're still waiting on the National Guard to get their act together and fix their own helicopters, and nobody's showing up. But the Treasury Department finally shows up at the end and is like, "Hang tight." And again, like sort of like from helicopter to walkie-talkie, which is also amazing. A bit of radio technology, where he's like, "Who are you?" And he's like, "Oh, we're rescue people, and now we're stranded. We were with the bad guys, but they're wearing a helicopter right now."
That is how radios work, though.
But like
They all
how
operate
would
off
they
the same
know- no, but
frequency.
how would they would have to be some sort of like a channel 3. Like,
Well,
they would have to communicate or just click till you got to that channel. Like it's
to be honest with you,
Little
that walkie-talkie thing with the CB radios actually worked for me because those were actually designed from the agencies, I believe. So them being crossed in the same channel made sense on that level.
okay.
Yeah, and also
I
he was
stand
calling
corrected.
for help. He was calling for help. Frank was calling for help earlier.
Oh, okay.
In the
so
movie.
he would have been on a similar frequency.
They would have been on a similar
But
frequency.
I thought that the walkie-talkie that Michael Rooker has at the end, he stole from the guy the soccer player guy that he killed.
I mean, he may
Before
have
he goes to
also
rescue
changed
Frank.
he could have changed it to the frequency because wasn't he trying to call for Frank? Remember they were calling for Frank
Maybe.
to get the helicopter?
Also,
Right.
they're rescue workers. They probably are more privy to certain channels that certain aircraft work off of, and blah blah.
And plus, that one guy that he
All right,
shot
I'll
was a
let it
soccer
go.
player,
I'll let it
so
go.
he knew all about radio frequencies.
I'll let it go. But what I won't let go is Travers and Gabe's fight that we didn't get to talk about yet. Before we get to the helicopter at the end, and Gabe tap dancing with John Lithgow on the bottom of that helicopter hanging off a cliff. There is this boss fight. That's the only thing I can describe it as. Boss fight between Gabe, where he goes under the ice and then shoots up at Travers with his little spike gun, his like mountain spike gun, that is somehow now semi-automatic and shoots from a clip of spikes. He fires off 4 rounds into Travers, rapid fire.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure there's a bunch of criticism about that type of gun not existing because that type of delivery system would not work the way they think it works, but it makes for a nice gun at the end. The way that sometimes they'll shoot a bad guy with a flare gun, and it's like you just need a gun of any kind to like thwart your bad guy at the end. But he shoots through ice, rapid fire 4 times, boom, 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 boom,
No, I think it was.
into Travers' chest and back and stuff, and that's what eventually.
Well, first of all, it
knocks him
wasn't-
into the ice.
I
and he
don't think it was
drowns.
rapid fire.
It was.
No, I think he shot him with a spear, and then he pulled out a gun and shot him.
Where did Stallone get that gun? It was underwater.
No, it was in his back pocket. I think he shot him with the spear gun, and he pulled the gun out of his back pocket and shot him.
Where was this gun the entire time?
I don't know.
Like,
I'm not Gabe. All right, I'm not
He
a
was just
mountain
sitting on
man
the
of,
nine
of the
the
Colorado
entire
Rockies.
time. He's just like, I got this Glock for emergency use only. No bullets, bitch. Well, see, he doesn't have bullets anyway. I'll do a knife fight with this guy. Stick him on a stalactite.
Oh, did he get him from Leon? Because he just fought Leon in the cave.
Yeah, he
No,
did get
Leon
that
was
from
out of
Leon, I
bullets. He brought his gun down, and he was out of bullets.
Leon,
Which, by the way, if he knew he was out of bullets, because he doesn't fire a single shot once he gets down into the cave.
No.
Why did he climb
no,
down into the cave?
Leon was not out of
with
bullets.
an empty gun.
Leon was not out of bullets.
Yes,
he
he
was out
was.
of bullets because he had an Uzi. Because she had the Uzi, and then she was out of bullets.
That Leon carried into the cave.
No.
Yes.
No.
Leon came down. There was a tussle. Uzi falls out of Leon's hand because Sylvester Stallone and him are tussling. She picks up the Uzi, is waiting for her moment while they're tussling. She hits click, and he looks over and he goes, "No bullets, bitch."
You know, John, now that this is on Netflix and I don't have to pay to watch this, I'm going to go back and watch this, and I'm going to answer Corey's
Okay.
question.
I watched this.
Okay. I like to know too, though. But another thing, too, I wanted to let you guys know something too. I actually played the video game from Sega with this with Cliffhanger. and everything. I
Really?
remember, yeah, they actually
Pitfall
had a
with a new name?
Sega Genesis video game of Cliffhanger. I actually have it still.
Really?
They
Yeah.
actually had a parody version of this released by Vivid Video called Cliffhanger. I just want to let you know that came out around
That's
the same
when you
time.
download the wrong one.
Yes,
That was for the GameCube, though.
never saw that version.
Didn't take off.
Never saw that version.
But anyways, guys, this has been a blast, to be honest with you. I'm glad that you guys wanted to come in and do this. This has
I feel like we
been
could
an
go another
absolute
3 hours
blast.
talking about Cliffhanger.
We might actually do
So much
this.
more to
We might
unpack.
actually do a switch the envelope just on Cliffhanger.
It's opened
I'll
up
join you for
lots
that
of veins, John, between the two of us.
We'll have to have you on our show now, John, just to talk more about Cliffhanger.
I'm down for it. I don't mind talking about Cliffhanger or whatever else you want to throw at me. I'm perfectly fine with that.
It's an important topic.
It is. Everybody wants to know what happened with that gun now.
Right? Absolutely.
Exactly.
What,
Yeah.
what is
So-
with the gun? Go look for yourselves.
Exactly.
And if he was just hiding a Glock in his back pocket, he could have made use of that a lot earlier. Just saying.
And if
So
it was a
with-
Glock in the back pocket, then it would be just like the ending from Die Hard. Just saying.
But
Absolutely.
except for one thing, Hans Gruber didn't have a helicopter ride taking him down off the cliff.
No, but there was a
He did fall.
helicopter
There
that
was a
did
helicopter and it
explode
did fall.
at the
Yeah,
end.
They just have it in different order in this film. There's an explosion, a helicopter, and a giant fall. They all happen. It's just in a different kind of order.
Yes.
All right. So with that being said, guys, where can everybody follow you at if they want to go ahead, follow you on social media or listen to your podcast? Matter of fact, I also have your link in the description notes too.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, they can
welcome.
follow us on Twitter at Switch Envelope because Twitter doesn't allow us to put the in there. It's too many characters. They can follow us on Instagram at Switch the Envelope. They can subscribe to us wherever they listen to podcasts, really. Right now, there's a brand new app out there called Good Pods that is really useful. That's sort of like social media and a podcast app all wrapped into one. And you can go there, you can follow us and find out the cool shows that, we're listening to and what we're sharing and stuff. So that's pretty cool. You can rate and review us there.
But you can also find us on Apple. And,
All
and,
the regular.
yeah,
all the
and
regular
Spotify
places.
and everywhere else. iHeartRadio, all that stuff.
Or you could go to switchtheenvelope.com for really all your Switch the Envelope needs. And hopefully we'll have some merch soon.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
All right, guys. So with that being said, you guys can go on ahead and follow me on Facebook at Movie Lovers TV Lovers Tonight on there. Of course, on our Instagram page as well, underneath the same brand name, and on Pinterest as well. Of course, you guys can follow me on TikTok at Movie Lovers Unite. That's where I do a lot of my promotions over there. Also, too, Two Blur Girl Podcast and I are actually doing a little bit of a charity with Cincy's right now. And all the proceeds go over to the victims of Louisiana for people who lost their homes and everything. So go on ahead, click the link below, go on ahead, get yourself a Cincy and everything and donate to the cause and everything with Red Cross. We do appreciate that. Also, too, if you guys want to donate to our page, how do you do that? You just go to gofundme.com/Movie Lovers Unite podcast, and that's how you guys can donate $5 to $10 to us. If you guys can't, I totally understand and everything. This is just to keep the lights on here at Movie Lovers Unite, but this is what I want you guys to do. Smash that like button, smash that subscribe button. There's a little bell on the bottom right hand corner. What I want you guys to do is smash that bell, because that allows you guys to know when we're going live, when we have new stuff going on and things like that. Because I know some people are like, well, I subscribed, is that enough? No, that's not enough. If you are dedicated to us, you have to smash that bell. So go ahead and smash that bell to let us know what's going on here at Movie Lovers Unite. Also, too, tomorrow night, 8 o'clock Central Time, 9 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Pacific Time, I'm going to have another podcast with me, and that's actually going to be made for TV podcast, and we're going to be reviewing Ferris Bueller's Day Off. This is another flashback to the 80s kind of series that we're doing here at Movie Lovers Unite. Also, too, go ahead, go to Good Pods, just like Jeff and Corey said. That's where I actually do a lot of my promotions now. Don't get me wrong, I love Apple. I like what they're doing over at Apple and stuff like that. But I like their rating system. I like their scales. I like actually interacting with people. And also, too, giving us a 5-star review and stuff like that. And also telling us, hey, I didn't really dig this episode, but can you improve on this episode here? That's what I like about it. It gives us a chance to actually interact with the listeners and everything. So go ahead, rate us over on Good Pods. Switch that envelope over there as well. Also, to give us 5-star ratings. If it's not worthy of 5-star, I don't care. Just go in and tell us what you liked about the show. But still, that's everywhere that you guys can follow me at. Also, to you guys can follow me underneath Movie Lovers Unit on Twitter because they won't let me have the E, so therefore it's now just Movie Lovers Unit. But,
Love Twitter.
Yep.
Twitter
God bless
holding on to characters. Ugh.
Exactly. And then, of course, if you're a sponsor or would like to get in touch with us, just go ahead, email us at movieloversunite@gmail.com. And that's going to be it for the show for tonight. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Corey, for taking the time out of your night to talk about Cliffhanger. I do appreciate it.
That was a lot of fun. Thanks for having us.
Thanks a lot, man.
You're welcome anytime. And always until next time, guys, it's been real. It's been fun. I can't wait to do this again. And bye-bye.